Welcome to Thriver TV, the place to break free from narcissistic abuse with quantum tools and understandings. Not everybody can be abused by narcissists, and if you don't agree with me by the time you watch this video through to the end, I hope that you do. If you want to never again be susceptible to a narcissist in your life, I'm going to share with you today the 4 absolute steps to being completely narcissistic proof. And the awesome thing is, as you will discover, this is not just about being free in life to play, create, enjoy, and love without being worried about toxic people derailing you. It's even more importantly about freeing you to be a more actualized, empowered, happier self than you ever believed was possible. Okay, so before we get started, I want to remind you that if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please do. And if you like this video, please make sure you hit the like button. Alrighty, now let's jump right in. Step number 1, turn inwards to heal. If you're watching this video, chances are that you've been narcissistically abused and very understandably fear it happening again. Maybe you also feel totally disillusioned, angry and upset that the world contains so many narcissists. I don't know how many times I've shared the following truth with this community about narcissists. When you have no more inner wounds that narcissists can appear in your life as being the savior of, draw you in with, trap you with and start attacking, there is no place for them in your life. It's quantum law, so within, so without. It's a total fallacy that narcissists come to you because you're already whole. They get in through our wounds and mesh with us and then take our energy. When we are whole, and even when we're dedicated to healing ourselves to wholeness, we can no more be infected and affected by a narcissist than a germ can infiltrate a sanitized surface. Like so many of us, narcissists used to hook me through my fears of speaking up, the terror of abandonment, and the inner feeling of emptiness and anxiety that I couldn't be safe and whole in life on my own. It doesn't matter how capable, resourceful and hardworking we are. If this is how we really feel on the inside, then we're a prime target for a narcissist, especially if we've succeeded and achieved practically in our life and if we have goodies on offer. Since I, just as so many others in this community have done too, turned inwards and devoted to my most important mission to clean up and heal my underdeveloped, insecure parts to wholeness, profound narcissistic inoculation has occurred. I no longer am needy enough to give in to love bombing. I check out people thoroughly before committing any aspect of my life to them, and I make sure that things are solid and safe in a practical way when doing so. And I'm very prepared to say goodbye to somebody who doesn't take responsibility, care for other people's emotions, or be honest and decent. The old me never used to take time to get to know people. She was steeped in the fears of, I need this to help me, I need this to complete me, that I would throw all caution to the wind. Now I can hold my space and ascertain because I'm generating my life with healthy inner and outer components. The inner was totally necessary first. When I hadn't healed my inner traumas responsible for handing my power away, I was often duped, lied to, and manipulated. And this is what happens when we think people are our source and we don't trust ourselves to be. We believe what we want to believe. So here is the absolute formula to work out what your gaps are that you need to heal so as not to be susceptible to narcissists again. It starts by asking yourself, what did this person seem to offer me that I thought I needed from them? What part of me thought that I couldn't create this for myself? What previous unresolved wounds do I have on this topic in my life? What was I trying to receive from others in my past that I didn't, that I was trying unsuccessfully to get from the narcissist this time? Do I realize now that only I can turn inwards and love and heal this part of myself back to wholeness to stop this painful pattern and the possibility of narcissistic abuse in the future? They're all really important questions because this is about us. This person, about them, this person was a false source, pushing you to come inwards to heal and become your own true source. Then there is absolutely no desire, hookup possibility or susceptibility to choosing or staying with a false source ever again. They are not your reality. Let's have a look at step number 2. Stop trying to work out them. If you want an amazing life, narcissism is not that life. It's very interesting in my life how I help people recover from narcissistic abuse every day, but please let me share with you how my everyday reality goes. I'm not in tune with it all who somebody else is or isn't being. This may sound crazy, but there's a much deeper truth going on here. I'm deeply in tune with who I am or aren't being. I'm the only entity I do have control over, and working out and on me is my optimal position in life, because my entire experience as my experience is manufactured from the beliefs and alignment going on within me. I know as my own generative source that if I keep releasing my fearful programs that made me terrified of people and their capacity, and if I don't hide, shrink, or sell out, or tiptoe on broken glass around people, then I can be a calm, clear, solid adult in my own body. Just yesterday, I got questioned by a person who I know can be confrontational. I told her the absolute truth, including my concerns about her, calmly and directly. If she had popped and even decided to leave my experience, so be it. That would have been meant to be. I know that if I walk truth honestly and confront and speak up as my authentic self, my life shapes around that accordingly, regardless of what anybody else is or isn't doing. I get asked all the time, what if your ex-narcs read or watch your stuff? And my answer is, so what if they do? People even say maybe they get narcissistic supply from doing that. And I reply, so what if they do? Why on earth would I care about what other people think of me or what I do and what they get out of it, when all that is important is how I feel about who I am and what I do? What have I got to fear other than fear itself? And now, because of focusing and working on me and not them, I'm so thrilled I get to do it the easy way with quantum freedom healing. I can release and live free of any fear. When we are focused on developing ourselves and an amazing life, why would we focus on what narcissists are or aren't doing and the possibility of running into one? I used to all the time fear that, and I understand why we do this, because we're still carrying so much of the trauma of what happened with them inside us until we start releasing it. Hence why the inner work to do that, to release the trauma, is so important. When we start to live free of the fear, we know that there is no purpose in deciding the world is full of narcissists, I have to look out for them, and I have to protect myself against them. This is the truth about narcissists. They are false selves who are infected with a terrible virus of unconsciousness. And that unconsciousness is, I am not the generative source of my own experience. That's what the unconsciousness is. There is no real self at the helm, and they attach to people through people's fear and pain, which is their unhealed wounds, and they drain out their life force. The complete inoculation from the narcissism virus is to stop making it all about them and make it all about healing, developing and extending you, understanding that you are the generative source of your own experience and the only person you can work on is you. Then they can't touch you anymore. Then a vampire can exist in the presence of a bright, shining light. As I was creating this episode in a cafe, yesterday. I could have been dining with 5 narcissists in the room. I couldn't care less if there was 5 or 50. I'm just doing my life authentically and fearlessly. Okay, step number 3, enjoy the journey of releasing yourself. Step number 3 may not be obvious to you initially, but hear me out because this step is vital. When we finally start the journey of turning inwards and healing and releasing ourselves from our narcissistic abuse wounds, we may want to get it all done now. Can you relate? I used to be so like this. I was the A-type compulsive obsessive person, healing my butt off morning, noon and night so that I could be all trauma-free, evolved and clean and never have to heal myself again. I know this sounds familiar to a lot of you too, and you can be forgiven for feeling like this and wanting this. But now I know the truth about this. We are imperfectly perfect, and personally I know that as I ascend, that more wounds appear to be released, because as I become lighter, which means more filled with light, any dark and dense energy that is not the true self must come up. It simply must be unpacked if I want to continue moving upwards in consciousness. I promise you that the same truth exists for all of us. Now, I love this process of dense energy emerging from within or being triggered off by some event in my outer world. And no matter how busy I am, I'm committed to doing quantum freedom healings on myself whenever in need. I know that if I don't go within, I go without. I know that every time I turn inwards and release trauma energy and replace it with source, the energy that was tied up in me, trying to survive that wound, is now freed up and available as a pure creative force. When we release the uncomfortable, painful, anxious, or even terrorized feelings from our body, and we fill those trauma places with source, we immediately shift. We feel free, at peace, and extended. And it's so funny how sometimes people that are close to me ask me, "What are you thinking?" And I say, "I'm not thinking. I don't like thinking." It's true, the more light that enters my being, the less I need to think, because I just have more and more source running through me as me. Inspiration comes, things come, amazing things happen. It just is. I don't need to think about much anymore except showing up to do whatever I feel good about doing. Mind you, when trauma comes up, it feels like trauma, and I love that it does, because each time I do the work to release it, I just keep going up to a freer, more spacious, trauma-free level. And I wish that for everybody. Here's the deal on this point. If we hate that trauma keeps coming up and we try to do all the work now so that it never will again, we're not living the process of becoming more whole, one wound at a time. Then we will resist the calling to go within and heal. We will beat ourselves up for it. We'll do a spiritual bypass. We'll try to resolve it with our mind, and we'll keep its energy trapped in our being. This makes us toxic and keeps us connected to people who represent this trauma and toxicity, no matter what we try to learn. Rule of thumb is, the more activated you feel to research how to get out of trauma, rather than just releasing yourself from it, the more you're going to remain stuck in it. Rather, if we just love and accept the process of the true reason why stuff arises, to give us the opportunity to midwife our breakdowns of the old order into the grand breakthroughs of our true self order, then we are totally out of the loop of narcissists. They're not on this frequency at all. They're not applying this to their life at all. They remain unconscious. And it's so within, so without. Unconsciousness can only connect to ongoing unconsciousness. If we're out of the trance, they can't connect to us. So I hope that explains step number 3. Step number 4 is be grateful for your evolution. Of course, at first this can be so difficult because of the trauma and the losses that you've suffered. If I can be so bold to share with you what many of you already know, and understandably many of you don't yet, narcissistic abuse is a powerful experience which wakes us up to the unhealed limitations, fears and insecurities that have always been standing between us and our true life. And when I say true life, I mean the life that is aligned with our true self, being the only life that it was ever going to gratify us. When we turn inwards to heal the things that get smashed by narcissists, our breakdowns turn into divine breakthroughs, where we start enjoying the greatest joy, comfort and wholeness that we've ever known. So many people report this even before real life compensation appears. And it happened in my life too. I felt that. Then my life flooded with real life compensation, because that's what happens. The feeling has to precede what actually comes into being. As we heal our wounds and we come home to ourselves, we start to experience a feeling of connection with Source and ourselves and life without fear and pain. And we realize that finally we are integrating back to who we really are, free of human illusions, traumas and beliefs that have been plaguing us forever and certainly not serving us. Life is forever changed as a result of narcissistic abuse, and not as many people would have you believe, in a bad way. I've said to people over and over, you couldn't give me $10 million to go back to the person who I was before narcissistic abuse. And I've also replied to many gorgeous, beautiful people many times who've said to me, I'm so sorry you had to go through what you did, that I feel so blessed and grateful for going through what I did, because before narcissistic abuse, I was carrying so many unhealed traumas that were my normal that I'd never been forced to heal if this hadn't happened to me. So here's the real deal here that I believe with all of my heart. There are no mistakes in what we go through. We are getting the evidence of our shadows so that we can wake up and make the unconscious conscious, to turn inwards and finally release ourselves into our true self and our true life. When we get gloriously grateful for this opportunity and we grab it with both hands, why on earth would we require more of the message, aka narcissists? The truth is we don't. We heal beyond the fears of speaking our truth. We ascend above the terror of not being able to generate our own life. We know how to connect to people with discernment, sensibility, truthfulness, and maturity. We are able to leave when abuse starts, knowing that we're already whole within ourselves and we will not accept less. We can honestly tell people what we need from them and co-generate evolving healthy relationships with able others. No longer are we trying to turn crumbs into cookies. And I put that post up on Instagram the other day, and I loved what a dear Instagram lady said. She said, "Nah, girl, I'm making bread." I love that. So, darling Thriver peeps, how about if you are with me with this episode, I want you to write below, "I'm done with crumbs. I'm making bread." All right, so let's go do this work together to truly be narc free and thrive. This is about going within, finding our gaps, up-leveling them, and bursting forth into our true self and true lives, and leaving all this crap behind in the dust, so that we can be like I am and so many thrivers are. We couldn't care less about narcissists in the world because we are too busy and empowered being ourselves. So if it's your time to develop to this level, come join me here into my Thriver world by clicking the link at the top right of this video. It could be the most important decision you've ever made. And if you want to see more of my videos, please subscribe so that you'll be notified as soon as each new one is released. And if you like this, click like. Also, please share with your communities so that we can help people awaken to these truths. Oh, and just as a PS, I mentioned it on my blog, but I did want to share with you YouTube listeners as well that I am incredibly humbled and surprised regarding being nominated for the Kindred Spirit Awards 2019 Personality of the Year. I'm in shock. I really am, and I'm very honored. And it's apparently a very big deal. Eckhart Tolle won it last year. Can you believe that? So I would be thrilled beyond measure if you could take a moment to vote for me, because this is really about voting for worldwide recognition for the Thriver movement so that we can help end narcissistic abuse in our world. So I'm not sure if we're actually going to be putting up links. If they are, they'll be in the video for you to click on, or if not, you can go to the details, and the details are on the blog as well. So please vote for me and the Thriver movement. And the voting lines close on the 30th of June 2019. Thank you, dear Thrivers. And as always, I am so looking forward to answering your comments and your questions below. So until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. Lots of love. Bye-bye.